We're obviously waiting on the buzz curve. Kim, you ready to go? Sipping.
My coffee. I always.
My favorite Kim is that she drinks coffee through a straw. That is classic. You guys ready? Give me a thumbs up, everybody. I want to welcome everyone to the Four Esoterics. No politics allowed. I'd like to remind everyone this podcast is being recorded. We follow Carlin's rules with one addition. Lewis, please be wearing pants. Let's welcome the Esoterics. Ben Boychuk, managing editor of AM Greatness. Of course, Mr. Esoteric himself, Lewis Fine. Our guest, Miss 4th of July, Kim Delaney. And of course, you could find us at 4 Esoterics. That's at the number 4 ESOTERICS. You could find us on iTunes, YouTube. Love us, like us on Twitter, download us at the podcast store, and welcome to today's early 4th of July podcast.
Nice.
I like the flag. Nice.
Very nice.
And I want to share a quick memory because I want to talk about our favorite childhood memories first, but I think so many of us, we're all sort of in the same generation of when our parents worked countless hours. And the drive to, in my case, my Uncle Herbie's house was, I think about my father working 70, 80 hours a week and, you know, that car ride of tension just to get to my Uncle Herbie's house, who threw the greatest 4th of July celebration. He had no boys and he threw this fireworks, my grandfather making sure that the steak was on for 40 extra minutes. So it was that was no longer a steak. It was some sort of jerky. And I look back on it now. And I remember when we were driving, it was so stressful. And I look back now with gratitude for my father, who had enough patience to sit with us in the car.
Where did Uncle Herbie live?
He lived in Long Island in Belmore. That's another thing. Those were the days before Waze and Google Maps. And it was always remember there was always like one turnoff that you missed? You know, you didn't make the left at the right gas station or on the right street. And in places you ended up sometimes. So I want to hear about you guys.
We had Thomas Guide. That we didn't have Waze. We had Thomas Guide.
Thomas Guide. That's right.
I don't even know what Thomas Guide is. Is that like a map?
Yeah. We always had that in the car because you would.
How long have you lived in Los Angeles?
Me?
To Judah. No, Judah.
16, 17 years.
Right. Next week we'll go on a tour.
So Ben, what are some of your favorite childhood memories that actually might not have been favorite when then, but now you look back on them and you look at them with fondness?
Well, we used to take, we had a 1981 Dodge Ram with brown paneling on the side. And we would go on these extended road trips. So, you know, my 2 or 3 weeks felt like 6 or 7 weeks to me sometimes. And we traveled all over the Western United States. And one of the things I was happy to discover traveling outside of California on these road trips around the 4th of July is that other states you can buy cool stuff. You know, not just the safe and sane stuff that, you know, you could still burn your hand off with, but you could actually buy the really cool stuff. And
not the sparklers.
Not the sparklers. You can
let me just give a little thing. My Uncle Mike, as the story goes, blew off his arm with dynamite. I think it was
his whole arm.
His, you know, like here, yeah. He lived in a double wide in West Palm. He had and
so he lost his limb in an attempt to destroy his business to recoup the insurance money.
Yes, I think that's actually what might have been. So go on, Ben. You were able to buy and see a whole new world of fireworks.
Yeah. So I was the kid on my block in Southern California who had the 2 giant bricks of firecrackers and made it last for the better part of a year. It was great. You know. The best thing to do with firecrackers is when you're in the 6th grade and you have to do a group diorama project about the Spanish conquering the Incas. Then afterwards you can go to your friend's house, put firecrackers in strategic portions of the model and blow the thing sky high. So I have great memories of destruction like that. But yeah, the 4th of July is one of my favorite holidays. I don't know about everybody else, but it's a little strange in the mountains right now. Yeah. Ooh, good Lord.
How do you do fireworks in the mountains, by
You
the way?
don't.
Isn't that sort of like a dangerous thing? I'm just
Yes,
curious.
you don't. Even the safe and sane stuff is absolutely prohibited. And
because you guys sort of have fireworks naturally once every couple of years.
well, or sometimes unnaturally. So there are two big lakes up here, right? They're Lake Arrowhead and Big Bear Lake. And usually what happens is that there are these tremendous fireworks shows on the lakes, but because of I guess we can talk about social distancing. Because of social distancing, the Lake Arrowhead folks decided they didn't want people crowding around the lake and in Lake Arrowhead Village to see the show. So they're moving their solution is they're moving the fireworks to a relatively inaccessible part of the lake so that people won't gather. And then they're gonna live stream the thing on YouTube. That's
There's
the last
nothing
thing.
better than watching fireworks on YouTube.
Yeah.
See,
It's like Netflix has those videos on Christmas of the Yuletide.
right. The Yule log.
The log burning.
Right.
Sorry, Liz.
See,
go ahead.
I just picture Ben walking outside like Randy Quaid style from Vacation, but naked, just in a pair of work boots, 9 p.m., 9:30 at night, and just firing a shotgun in the air and then just going back inside, eating like half an apple pie and falling asleep on the floor.
Well, thank you for
That's
that.
my Friday nights. That's my Friday night.
And can I tell you something? But Judah, you have solved a mystery that has plagued me for 30 something years, because I was a kid. We are contemporaries, but at the time it happened so quickly I didn't notice. But now I know on the LIE that July 4th weekend, when I was going east and you were going west, you were the one I passed when I saw that the father at the wheel and the other arm reaching back trying to hit his kid, and the car was swerving.
Not hit his kid, restrain his kid.
Oh, right.
Let's be correct.
Correct him.
Well, can I be honest with you, Louis? What's funny is, as we were passing, the same experience was happening in both cars.
But the only difference, and can I congratulate you on something?
Yes.
On those COVID-19 glasses you lifted off of a 90-year-old corpse from a nursing home.
Okay. Kim, what are some of your favorite childhood memories?
We would normally go to the shore. So the shore up back east, so that's the Jersey Shore. And it was kind of like every weekend. It was a party, the kids would shoot off the sparklers and the fireworks that we're not supposed to have. Back then, every weekend was kind of the same. You go to the shore, have a party.
The Jersey Shore every weekend was the 4th of July.
Exactly.
Which made the 4th of July nothing special.
You just decorate.
Yes. Liz.
Yeah. And no, I was just going to say, nothing screams Independence Day quite like Kim's upside down American flag smeared with feces and target of vandals with mud, for which she had it framed and wrote a very sizable check.
It's an homage to Johnny Cash. It's her ragged old flag. And that's what that is. And Louis, what about you?
When I was a kid, just when the most dangerous thing to come out of Chinatown was firecrackers. And you get them, and they were so they had whatever the image on the cover was, and the Chinese characters, and you'd open it, and then there was this thin red kind of wax paper covering it, and then just it was like having a gun, but you're a kid. It was just amazing. And we had bottle rockets were great, firecrackers were great. I never lit, I never held an M80 or a cherry bomb.
Like my
but I
Uncle
do-
Mike.
Right, which is commonly known in the insurance industry as, without any discrimination or prejudice, Jewish lightning. It's an East Coast phenomenon. When
My
you
mother going to kill you.
what
I don't even
definition?
think my father's going to get. I don't even think my father's going to get on the plane at this point.
And I was going to
It's my
ask you when you
mom
talked
that's going to
about.
come down.
You
Anyways,
mentioned
get
your
back
father
to.
working 70, 80 hours a week. That's the Triangle Shirt Factory. I just
By
want to
the
say
way,
we have
you're right.
unions
By the
now.
way, about it being so much more accessible in those days. About being able to get fireworks.
I just remember when you drop. We were the one time. I think we did it twice, but that one time when we were driving to Florida from New Jersey, and we stopped at the cultural epicenter of. Not referring to Charleston, of course. I'm referring to south of the border, which today, in theory, would not exist because the rioters would take it down. I'm surprised they haven't attempted to yet. But once you went south of the Mason-Dixon line, which is farther north than most people may know, you could walk into a pharmacy and buy fireworks.
Mhm.
You'd be like, I want
I
to.
lived in Charleston for about 7 years.
In where?
Charleston.
What? Yeah, well, that doesn't count. That's a beautiful, gorgeous, historic city with fine dining and members of society's elite. I'm talking about people who are missing at least 3 to 4 teeth. Don't own a tie. If they have eyewear, it's been removed from a corpse, not unlike Judah's. And the thrill of the 4th of July is either doing it Ben style, just shooting your gun in the air, or buying a ton of fireworks and just shooting them off.
It's funny. You raise a good point, and let's welcome Chris Buskirk. We salute you. Happy almost 4th. You raise a good point. I remember the accessibility even in those days of being able to buy like the things you would launch the fireworks actually with. It was almost like you had those shops that sold, there was real equipment to launch that type of stuff.
Let me say a word or two about that
Yes.
right now, because you make it sound like it's hard to get today. You people live in a civilized part of the world. I live, broadly speaking, in the Inland Empire of Southern California, where from Memorial Day until Labor Day, somebody is firing some illegal pyrotechnic into the air every night of the week.
My nephew.
That's MS-13, Ben.
Listen. Go ahead, Kim. What were you saying?
I was just saying my nephew did that last summer right from the house. I'm like, at least go away from the house so the house is not going to go over fire.
Right. Yeah. So the neighborhood I used to live in, it's like Vietnam on the 4th of July. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, it literally is the San Gabriel Valley.
No, it's past that.
By the way, Chris, if you waited 5 more minutes, you could have joined our July 5th discussion.
It's like the Boxing Day of Independence Day.
Chris, before we go to break, we're discussing favorite childhood July 4th memories. Quickly, what's yours? Some of yours.
This is an easy one. This is what my family was in Mexico for 4th of July, which a lot of Arizonans would go down there to Rocky Point, and we had rented an RV and taken it down there. And so there's a huge enclave of Americans, all sort of camping and whatever, RVs down there. This would have been in the 80s. And doing what, like, whatever 13-year-olds do is we bought a bunch of Roman candles and had Roman candle wars on the beach until some kid had to go and shoot a Roman candle into the other kid's hair and set it on fire and send him to the Mexican hospital. I don't know who that kid was, but I hope he's very ashamed of himself.
It was always one kid.
Before we go to break, can I share one of my favorite 4th of July memories? I was with Chris's parents. They took me to the Playboy Club, and we went rooftop and saw fireworks, and we were with the bunnies, and it was great. And it was
Was Kelly there?
yeah,
No.
she, as a matter of fact, she was. She couldn't hear too well, and I don't know if that was because of the fireworks, but it was, kids were half price, not children. You couldn't buy children. The meals for children were half price, and I just had a wonderful time with Chris's parents. I never saw them again, but it was a great time.
And on
They've
that
always
note,
spoken very highly of you.
Yes, thank you.
no, they haven't. Stop lying. I know it's for the 4th of July, but let's be real. And I'd like to welcome everybody that's listening to the 4 Esoterics. Is at the number 4 ESOTERICS. You can find us on iTunes, YouTube. Steal your friends' phones, like us on Twitter, force them to like us on the iTunes store. Just do it. And before we go to break, I want to wish Phil a happy birthday. I want to congratulate Darcy on a great job interview today that she had. And we're all praying that you get the job. And on that note, we'll be back with
Happy birthday.
And we'll be back with
Happy birthday.
your favorite July 4th movies. And we'll find out if Chris allows them to be July 4th movies. Producer girlfriend, why don't you take us to a quick commercial break?
Are you looking for that salty, cheesy 4th of July treat? Yep, you guessed it. Colleen's Better Than Breadsticks. Coming to an internet service near you on colleensbetterthan.com. I'll let you know when it's up and running. But otherwise, you can check out a gourmet grocery store in the Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Illinois, or Santa Barbara area to get yourself some of that salty, cheesy, crunchy 4th of July treat. Colleen's Better Than Breadsticks.
Thank you, producer girlfriend. They are amazing breadsticks. Okay, so I want to go to this thing of some of your favorite July 4th movies. So obviously Independence Day is the easy one.
Miss
Chris?
Firecracker.
Sorry?
Miss Firecracker.
Miss Firecracker. Can you tell us who starred in that? I haven't seen Miss Firecracker.
Holly Hunter. I think it was Holly Hunter, Tim Robbins. I forget the rest of the cast. I have to go look it up.
Ben, Chris, you seem to have a ton of these when I brought that up.
July 4th movies?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got a fair amount of them. I don't know. Would you call The Patriot, the Mel Gibson movie?
Sure, that's a good movie to watch. Kathleen wrote Jaws. I'm not sure exactly why Jaws is her. Oh, yes. Great July 4th movie. Good call,
Yeah.
Kathleen.
Yeah, no, that was actually on my list. That's a really good call. Jaws is good. The Patriot is good.
4th of July. Born on the 4th of July. The one with Tom Cruise.
Yes, very uplifting 4th of
Yeah,
July.
and patriotic.
Yeah, with the family, we always gather around on the 4th of July, my wife's birthday, and watch that, and then we all go our separate ways and mope afterwards.
Yeah, I think a movie about a crippled, impotent Vietnam War combat veteran who disowns his family, his country, and protests at the Republican National Convention is the epitome of patriotism. Thank you.
Okay, so getting back to you, Chris, what else?
There were a bunch of these movies made in the 40s and 50s that are great movies. There's like Johnny Tremaine was made like late 40s, early 50s from the novel. That's a great movie like that. Yankee Doodle Dandy, which was a musical, that was pretty fun too. They all got super serious come the 70s or 80s, but there are a lot of just like sort of, I don't know, like it's like the pop novel equivalent of like 4th of July movies or just patriotic movies that were made when Hollywood was patriotic.
And I want to bring up producer girlfriend because she brought up a good one, which is The Sandlot.
I love The Sandlot. And my other favorite 4th of July movie is A League of Their Own, which I remember my grandmother taking me and 5 of my other girl cousins to the movie theater to see it. And that's like one of my favorite childhood days of all time, was seeing that movie in the theater. I just thought that movie was so great.
Was it on the 4th of July you guys went, or you're just...
I think it was around that time, because none of us were... I had certain cousins who went to camp and they were home from camp. So it must have been like the day after or the day before the 4th of July. So
Well, you guys traveled so much more than I did. I went one place. We didn't get RVs. We didn't go camping. We didn't do any of that stuff.
Okay, yeah, Kim, we went to the Catskills, Pennsylvania, or Long
No
Island.
way.
We went to not even a hotel, a motel in Jersey.
Hotel, motel. Ben, what about you?
1776.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
Oh,
The one without, no, I'm thinking of Revolution with Al Pacino.
No,
With-
yeah, this is
With
the.
Gerard Depardieu, right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not talking. I'm talking about the mid 70s. Well, the
Just
movie
the
I think-
year.
the movie came out in 72, and it's got plenty of great lines. My favorite of all of them is John Adams, who was played by William Daniels. I've come to the conclusion that one useless man is called a disgrace, that two are called a law firm, and that three or more become a Congress.
oh,
I like that. And
Yeah.
but here's my
true.
question to everybody here. Is and producer girlfriend brought this up, and it goes to two questions. Is the idea of a summer break an antiquated idea? And do kids today get the same sense of summer and the 4th of July that we did?
No, I don't think.
well, I
so.
know my
Well,
son.
the kids don't go to school for an entire year. It's hard to differentiate between summer break and the rest of the year.
I think in certain parts of the country, it's still the same. Like in those neighborhoods where you can unlock a fire hydrant and shoot people in the street, whether it's in Bed-Stuy or Chicago, that tradition's still alive.
Oh
I
my
know back
God.
in Philadelphia, they,
And Philly too.
yeah, between Memorial and Labor Day, that's like where their summer starts, and they live for that. They live for that.
They being the operative word.
Well, Chris, Kim, and Ben all have kids of a certain age. Was their 4th of July experience the same as yours?
No, my son's is much better. Like right now, he just ordered a bunch of stuff from Amazon. He's got 5 friends coming down to the shore house. He's doing well.
And welcome to a millennial 4th of July. We order everything on Amazon, have it brought to the house. There's none of that, going to the store, packing, buying stuff, doing all that stuff. What about you, Chris?
It's like thematically, it's similar. It's substantially the same. They have a lot of stuff better, but one important thing worse, which is the lack of M80s. But when I was growing up, M80s, firecrackers, all Roman candles, totally easy to get. Not impossible by any means, but they were just sold much more commonly. So we got to shoot those off all day. But my kids, yeah, no, totally the same. Like there's a lot of 4th of July events, like big family, like family and friends parties. Like we've always done stuff, whether we be here in Arizona or whether we've gone, been in California or up in Utah or wherever. There's always a lot going on. So I think, yeah, like totally the same, in some ways even more intense.
What about you, Ben?
What, my kids or?
Yes, your children. Do they get the same experience?
Well, on the day, yes. It's fireworks to some extent, the safe and sane kind, the sparklers that burn at 25,000 degrees and all that, and barbecue aplenty. There was a time.
On 1 second, sorry, Chris, you don't take your kids to Mexico?
I would don't.
Not if he wants them to come back.
There's no way I'm going to the narco state known as Mexico. I haven't been in 20 years. I'm not going.
Yeah, it's getting a little rough down there.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ben.
There was an
that
attack on the police chief of Mexico City in broad daylight, where there was a full assault on him, and everybody in his party except him was killed. So no,
Chris,
we're gonna stay here.
That's called Tuesday.
Exactly.
And by the way, Kathleen wrote she adopted her son's adoption day is July 4th. So that's really special now. That's an incredible story, Kathleen. Thank you for sharing that with us. Ben, getting back to it, your son is just graduated. You have a daughter.
Right.
You're able to share the same experience. You're not going on 3-week road trips with them in a Ford Ram.
Right, or a Dodge Ram. Yeah,
Ram.
we're no, but it's there. There used to be God, over 10 years ago now, 10, 12, 13 years ago, block parties and things like that. There was a big block party on the street.
Lewis, one second. Here's the difference. Lewis and I both live in Los Angeles, and we've been here for quite a few years. There is none of this that goes on.
It helps to live on a cul-de-sac.
When I was a kid, my father grew up in Livingston, New Jersey, also known as Livingstein, also the hometown of Chris Christie, one of 3 Gentiles in Livingston. There was an insane high-end, almost Charleston-like, but with Jews, 4th of July block party at my paternal grandmother's, hosted by the one non-Jew in the neighborhood, Helen Buckner. And it was the first time I had seen a 1776 Betsy Ross racist style flag that Helen Buckner would put up outside her front door. And it was a joyous occasion. And Judah, don't forget to ask me about my favorite movies.
Oh, what are your favorite movies, Lewis?
For the 4th of July?
Yes.
Miracle on
No.
34th.
We're curious to know just everything all year long, your favorite movies, but yes, specifically for the 4th of July.
Miracle on 34th Street, The King's Speech, Darkest Hour. And now I never saw this, but in the early days of HBO, I've talked about this before, the early days of HBO, when they had 11 films in their film library. This was, now looking at the cast, it's so impressive, but I never saw it. Has anyone seen Sweet Liberty with Alan Alda?
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
I've seen
Of course, Chris has seen it. Our resident film critic.
And what's your assessment, Chris?
It's
Caroline-
not
it was
quite
okay.
as good as Freebie
Caroline
and the
wrote to you
Bean.
the Zero Dark.
Listen to this cast: Alan Alda, Michael Caine, Michelle Pfeiffer, Bob Hoskins, Lillian Gish, and Ben.
Wow.
I mean, Ben. I call Judah's favorite person, Saul Rubinek,
Oh, I love it.
Lois Childs, who played Holly
Wow.
Goodhead in Moonraker.
And what's the movie?
One of those
called again?
names.
I want to see that. That's Sweet Liberty.
Yes.
How old
Sweet
was
Liberty.
Lillian Gish?
Wow.
Lillian Gish was, I think, a spry 140.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We've got, and then a bunch of other people. But so as I remember it, Alan Alda plays a college professor whose book has been optioned, and they're going to make it into a movie. And the movie adaptation is
No,
disastrous.
we want to watch it. Let us watch it, and we'll.
I haven't seen it. I'm telling you, based on the commercials.
Let us watch it. You've brought up a good movie.
Wow.
Let us watch it.
Yeah, but
permeate, and we will.
I don't
discuss
think
it.
you can still get illegal cable, Judah.
Here's my question to you, though. You have a 7-year-old girl. What are you going to
Yes.
do with her this 4th of July?
Take her to see some fireworks while we're from the safety of our car.
Right. Yeah.
And on that note, let's go to commercial break. If you just tuned in, you are listening to the 4 Esoterics. Find us on Twitter at the number 4 ESOTERICS. Find us on iTunes, YouTube. And when we come back, I also want to hear from the people our attendees who are in different countries, what their 4th of July is like. Obviously, it's not the same date as ours. What their day is and what they do to celebrate there. And on that note, Ben, take us to break.
Well, if you're listening to this, you're listening to it probably on YouTube or on iTunes, but you may also find it at American Greatness. This show isn't about politics, but American Greatness is. Visit us at www.amgreatness.com, where you'll find terrific writers like Conrad Black, Victor Davis Hanson, Julie Kelly, and of course, 5 days a week, Liz Shell gives you her Morning Greatness roundup of the most important news stories of the day. That's all at American Greatness, www.amgreatness.com.
Thank you, Ben Boychuk. And again, I want to hear from our panelists or attendees what their countries' 4th of July's are like, or obviously a different day.
I did
And
a fact
I want to
check.
get back to this. We're going through, obviously can't avoid what we're going through right now. And in places like New York, they're not going to allow they're not even giving the date and time of when the fireworks are happening or where. You just have to all of a sudden come out of your window and see, and visually.
They're happening every night. I'm not kidding you. I hear them every night.
Yeah, they
And I
have
thought
been
it was-
going on every night.
No, they're going where I am. They're going on every night.
Oh, okay. So it's not just
So
out
I'm-
here.
No, there are. I don't want to get into it because it could become a political thing, but there are different reasons why people think the fireworks that are going off. I just want to give you an example. As Lewis knows, most of you know, I drive back from the desert often with Ben Stein, and as we've been driving back, I see fireworks out of my left mirror, and I go, Ben, look, fireworks. And by the time it's not like a sequential thing it's not like a sequence of them. It's one that goes off. Then about 2 miles on the other side, it goes off. So it's like you think you're going crazy at some points. This
has been the case for at least 20 years that I've seen. And it gets more and more elaborate every year and more brazen. Driving the freeways, and you're probably driving the 10. I'm driving the 210 a lot, and I see it all, and very close to the freeway too. And I'll never forget coming back from God, I don't remember where we were, somewhere on the 4th of July, the late 4th of July, and one side of the freeway on fire because somebody had I guess they'd had a misfire with their illegal fireworks. But I have never seen it like this. When I was a kid, it was nothing like this, and it gets more and more elaborate by the year out here.
Is anyone going to talk about Ben's shirt?
Yeah, you noticed?
I love it. I love Ben's shirt. And by the way, Caroline wrote in Australia Day is on January 26th. It's our summer here. So
it's also known in America as Who Cares Day.
We care. Lewis speaks for none of us, as you know, Caroline. In Scotland, we don't have any kind of Independence Day. That seems a bit odd. We have St. Andrew's Day.
They have a movie, Braveheart.
Ignored.
That's as close as they came.
Lots of food parties. I'm sure drinking, poetry reading from schools. Okay, that's interesting. But let me ask you a question. Since you guys, Ben, Chris, what you did as children, did you safeguard your kids from doing the same things? So like you're not taking your kids to Mexico. But when we were younger, there was a little more like there weren't as many regulations on packages. There weren't like everybody banned. You allowed kids to be kids.
You mean kids? So you mean fireworks were okay for kids with peanut allergies? Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, that's actually sort of a good analogous to what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, kids in those days were allowed to be kids. They rode around their bikes in neighborhoods. I don't live in those types of neighborhoods, Chris. Does that still happen?
My father would buy stuff for us. Wasn't sneaky. He would just buy it and let us go play.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember? Yeah. Does anybody remember I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, does that still happen? That's my question, Chris. Do you allow your kids to play with fireworks?
100%.
Kids are in their 20s.
Yeah, no, they've always been allowed to have fireworks. I mean, we would do the fireworks together when they were small, but I mean, they're not idiots. They can figure out how to operate a firecracker. So yeah, once they got to a certain age where they could handle it safely, which was basically the same age that my parents let me use like firecrackers or bottle rockets or whatever, for sure.
Can we talk about at least for men and boys, especially boys, the Proustian mandolin-like.
We have to, if we're going to be able to talk about something that you bring up, you have to be able to talk about.
I'm going to. Autoerotic sensation based on the smell of just taking a pebble and running it across a roll of caps and that sniff.
Oh, yeah.
That's that odor that.
I had that.
Yeah, I mean, there was many a time I was found on a curb, pants down, with the water coming from the sump pump, right on, cascading over my face, and not even cold enough to wake me until my mother found me.
And as always, I'd like to remember, Lewis's opinions are in no way representative of the rest of ours.
We don't even know who he is. Right.
None of us have ever really met
A
Lewis.
A roll of caps. I'd love a roll of
I
caps.
met him one night at a deli, and
Of course, it was a deli. And your uncle Moish, the one with one arm, and how you were so kind because you cut his food, you cut the sandwich, and then you'd say, Moish, big bite, big bite.
Chris, you missed the beginning of the show where I was sharing about my uncle Mike blowing off his arm with dynamite.
Which is a typical
Now,
4th of July thing.
I'd like to think for family memory, it happened on July 4th, although I'm not sure. He just could have not been the brightest guy and blew his arm off with dynamite.
Or
what was the ostensible purpose of the dynamite?
His dress factory was losing money.
No, I'm being serious to you. Uncle Mike everybody had an Uncle Mike in their family. He had a double wide trailer in West Palm Beach. He had, that gun rack up there, that of guns, of sort of antique guns, as I recall. He was a good, nice guy, a good guy, but he wasn't the smartest uncle. God rest his soul. Obviously in the family. I'm trying.
I would have paid to have seen the adjuster from Allstate say, "Where did you buy the dynamite, sir?"
By the way, I love how my mother.
And what were you doing with the dynamite? Nosy
Rosie told you as a kid, Judah, don't lend your Uncle Mike any money.
He's lost enough of it already. He's threatening to make the business disappear.
I think it just makes. I think it makes for. I've never really found out the real reason. There's no tell us the reason. So I like to think that Uncle Mike was in charge of a fireworks show. He wanted to put on a great one
for the kids.
Held on a little too long. Sorry, Chris.
For the kids, he was doing it for the kids.
He was doing it for the kids.
Because in Florida, you can
for the kids.
In Florida, you can buy dynamite at any public supermarket.
My mother wrote, in New York, it's not fireworks, it's gunshots now.
My brother was so bored one 4th of July he couldn't get fireworks. You know what he did on this quiet residential street? Him and his friend, they sprayed lighter fluid on the asphalt and just lit it on fire. That's how bored they were.
Okay, so let's get back to it. So I don't see how it. I think it has changed. Kim, from your childhood to your son's childhood, July 4th has definitely changed. Ben, from your childhood to your children's fire, it's tremendously changed. And producer girlfriend brings up a great point. We don't really have a summer anymore. There is no real idea of a summer.
That's because we live in California.
No, I don't know if it's just here.
Yeah,
Chris, do you have a summer in Arizona?
No, back east they definitely have a summer. They live. They start to get depressed when Labor Day comes because they know the summer's over.
The reason I asked this question was my cousin has a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And she made the comment to me that her kids cannot ride their bike in their cul-de-sac without her being outside, or someone could call the police and DCFS can show up.
Yeah,
now, that's
true.
back
and
in
that's
the Chicagoland,
absurd.
right? And so her and I started this discussion because her and I would get on our bikes and we'd be gone for 6-7 hours, just riding around the town, going to Dairy Queen, getting a dilly bar. Like we had a whole life. We had a whole life as a kid, you'd show up to the park for a few hours, meet this person, go to another park. I mean, there was like a summer schedule as to where you went. Sometimes we went to the dollar movies. And I was thinking about her son, Jack. Jack's not going to have that same summertime carelessness, go from park to park like her and I had. He's in
I think you
camp,
raise
he's
a great
structured.
point. In our days, our parents were pushing us out of the house to explore. We were our own explorers.
Well, let's be honest. You were thrown out.
Well, tomato, either way, I was told to explore. I mean, that's what kids' jobs were.
Was it to go explore, or was it just to give your mother some peace?
I would imagine it was a bit of both, but as a kid, like producer girlfriend's talking, didn't you and your friends get on bikes and just find places?
Yes, but here's something that Kim will appreciate because she's from the Northeast, as are you, Judah. But you grew up in what was an urban shtetl. Kim, remember pool season, which ran from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and the next best thing to having a pool was a friend who had a pool. And I kid you not, I don't know anybody in Los Angeles who has a pool. I could name 10 people I grew up with in New Jersey who had swimming pools. And
if they weren't built in, they were like the ones they would just either be the ones you blow up and put the water in.
Well, if you had an above ground pool, let's be honest, you were trash. But if you had the other great thing about in-ground pools that they don't do anymore, and I've had I've worked with 2 swimming pool clients out here in Los Angeles. They don't do deep ends anymore. They go about 5 feet deep. And if you want them to go deeper, it's a lot more money. And I don't even know if you can get the insurance coverage. You cannot put in today a diving board or a slide. If you buy
diving board,
if you buy a pool, you buy a house that has a pool and it has a sliding diving board, you can be grandfathered in. But
I had to take mine out. I bought a house with a pool with the diving board, but I had to take the diving board down.
Yeah, and granted, they're the source of endless accidents.
Now that you bring it up, Uncle Herbie, that was the featured event. Was his pool? Was the
deep end?
The slide?
No, it was a circular above the ground pool.
Oh, right, one of those Kmart things that's like 3 feet deep, and you pee in it.
No. It was a real pool. No, it might have been in the ground. It was a big pool. It was not a big pool. It was a little circular pool, but we would play volleyball in there. It was fun.
Deep ends. They were like 7 to 9 feet deep. I have a friend who I grew up with. No, 5 feet they go.
I had no idea.
And my friend,
you got like a 10-foot deep end plus a diving board. I didn't
realize.
Chris,
you live in Arizona where everybody has pools.
Yeah.
There's no regulations. You could literally, if you're 8, get a drink. We live in extremely regulated places where I guess I have no idea what Lewis is. I'm sure he knows.
My friend had a 12-foot deep pool, which was unheard of. Most people had 7, 8 feet was the deep end, and they had really nice pools. One had a kidney-shaped pool. One had what's called the Emerald, which is just a rectangle, but a beautiful old-style concrete pool. And others had, they were tiled. They were beautiful in-ground pools. And now to put in a pool, I kid you not, 5 feet, it'll cost you up to $50,000 out here.
It's more than that.
Insane. And by the way, Kathleen says it's absolutely not the same for kids. Maybe it is in smaller towns, Ben, like where you are, or Chris in Arizona, where there's some sort of safety. But in places like where we grew up, like Lewis and I grew up, or in Brooklyn or Chicago, kids cannot be kids. If you're in Chicago, you're not letting your kid get on a bicycle and say, go anywhere you want. Just explore the city. You're just not doing it.
I think in those suburbs popularized by John Hughes, I'd like to think you could still do that.
No, you can't.
My
cousin lives in one of those suburbs, and you can't. That was actually what kind of populated the conversation between me and her, because her son, every day of his summer is so structured. And I wondered if that's all little kids, and she says it is. And there's almost this, if your kids aren't still doing some sort of school or sports, like you're looked down upon as a parent. Like you're not, that's part of being a parent now, as opposed to when we were kids. There was something about that, the social structure that taught you something, you learned to be more social, I think, because you could go to the park if you wanted to, or you didn't. But these parents are like smashing it onto their kids, and these kids don't even get a break.
And here's the thing. The parents don't even get a break. When we were kids, our parents got breaks, us going to summer camp, or us, going around the neighborhood or whatever it was. Parents aren't getting breaks. It's good for kids to get away from their parents for a month.
Two things I want to ask, because it speaks to your point, Judah. Kim, did you ever go to Action Park?
It wasn't around.
No,
No, it
No,
was
Action
around.
Park opened up after Great Adventure, and we're really
I
going
never
back-
went to Great
Yes.
Adventure.
I did
But
go to
Action
Great
Park opened up later and then was
Yeah.
shut down because of insurance reasons, because a couple of people, I think, got killed. At the,
A couple?
yeah,
a
it was the
couple?
world's most dangerous water park that they built back east.
I
They thought it would be a good idea to allow 6-year-olds into one of those like circular wave.
I
pools.
went in the tidal
Oh,
wave
Lord.
pool. This was after an electrocution and a drowning, not same day. And I remember two things as I was being swept by the waves and thrown against the wall as a 10-year-old. Just every time I would come up for air, I would see that 13-year-old lifeguard, cigarette in his mouth, taking a drag, hitting on some, now we'd call her MILF, as my hand would go up, signaling for help. And then I'd go down and I'd be thrown against the wall again. And the water was ice cold.
And this is the difference, by the way, between Chris and Ben, you growing up in these places, and Lewis, Kim, and myself growing up back east, and in these sort of towns where, like, now that it was a very different experience. You know,
I can say
it was,
for the Jersey Shore, like that's where we would go.
So
And
So there's-
they let us
yeah.
do whatever we wanted. Like the parents would go out and the kids could be in the pool, the cousins, everybody together. They'd come home, the oldest one was the babysitter. Whoever the oldest cousin was the babysitter. And then the way my son and his cousins grew up, when they go to the shore, they actually they were able to still ride their bikes because it's a small town, and they go up to the ice cream. So, and they're still doing the same thing. So we're not such helicopter parents. If it was in Philly, it would be different. But down
you guys
there,
don't have. That's a great term. I've never even heard that expression.
But here's another
and
you
Ben-
said about some. Sorry, I just have to say one last thing. I won't talk again. Kim, this I know we will bond on because I'm the outlier among Jews, and this just applies to all Gentiles from the Northeast. There is no way your parents paid for what my mother would call expensive mud holes. You didn't go to sleepaway camp, did you?
no.
Thank
My son,
you.
that's the difference with my son. Like he would go to 2 weeks. So I was able to do it differently, gratefully.
See, I hate
they-
camp. Camp to me was like prison.
Well, they like that. That was basketball.
Trust me, the people
My
in camp
parents-
with you, Lewis, felt like they were in prison
Yeah.
too.
It was kind of like
And-
the California Youth Authority.
And but Ben, do you get what Ben and Chris, do you get what I'm saying? It's like you guys, this is like sort of like, I think, like a regional thing where where we grew up, we were, it was a lot safer, these towns.
Yeah,
You know,
well, I'm kind of with Kim on this. Like, if you live in one of America's like sort of top 15 like cities, it's a more urban type of a city. Forget it. You're not letting your kids out because they're going to get trafficked across the border within like 20 minutes. If you live in a semi-sane place or better, then it's basically the same. I mean, like we've always gone away on July 4th, whether it be down to Coronado, which is basically like Mayberry, or these other places up Flagstaff in northern Arizona. The kids are all like in packs, and they go out with their friends in the morning and you see them again at dinner, and then they're off again for a few hours. I think that's great for them. They need that sort of independence and learning how to figure things out and do things on their own.
I love how Caroline, which goes to what you were just saying, wrote she misses going to catch crayfish with brother at the creek. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's called one of the
I'm not even sure what a
unpublished-
crayfish is.
No, well, that's called one of the unpublished Mark Twain short stories. Chris, thanks for, by the way, the breaking news. Cities are dangerous.
And on that note, Ben, the other night, if you just tuned in, you're listening to the Four Esoterics with guest esoteric, of course, Miss 4th of July, Kim Delaney. And you can find us at the number 4 ESOTERICS. Download us at the iPod store, and we're growing in numbers. It's a lot of fun watching. And our job here is to make of this world just have an hour and 15 minutes where you don't have to think about the stuff that's going on outside, because this 4th of July is going to be affected like no other 4th of July we've had before. And no, you're not alone. No, you're not alone for thinking it's weirdness out there. It's a lot of isolation. It's weird going to be watching fireworks from your windows. And but the other night something made me very happy, and that was Ben Boychuk finally sent me a picture of the food before he ate it.
Yes.
And it was a succulent prime rib. And Ben, tell us where you could find that prime rib.
Well, you can find that prime rib every Saturday night at Stone Creek Bistro in Blue Jay, California. Find them online at www.stonecreekbistro.com. Best prime rib on this mountain, bar none.
It's the only prime rib on that mountain.
No, there's others.
The one next to the marijuana farm.
Which one?
Yeah, no, it's and as you saw in the picture, Judah, I mean, you get a generous slab.
That was a heart attack.
It was.
Okay, they served you a heart attack. Okay, they served you a baked potato that was more sour cream than potato. They served you a prime rib that was literally this big,
falling off the plate.
This thick.
It was falling off the plate.
Yeah.
Ben, thanks for joining us for your final show.
And we will know what happened.
So Stone Creek Bistro, www.stonecreekbistro.com. If you come up to the San Bernardino Mountains, Lake Arrowhead area, definitely check it out. Make a reservation, go on in and enjoy.
And welcome back to the Forest Esoterics. Lewis, what were you going to say?
This is why we need time travel. Kim, you and I are going to go back in time to Dana Delaney's high-end Hyannisport type Kennedy-style compound for the 4th of July and just vandalize that house, throw rocks, and be working-class kids hating the fact that she came from money and style and panache.
Yes, we're definitely not sisters. I was working class.
Yeah. That's why we're going to torch that place.
And
Dana Delaney, if you're listening, nobody likes you.
Oh, no.
Including your fake sister.
Yeah, Darcy, we all
Not
agree
true.
Kim is better than
Not
Dana
true.
Delaney.
No. She's great.
Yeah, Kim, it's okay. You're great too. And
Her last line was "please."
I want to get back to something, Chris. I'm not sure if you caught this part where Kim brought up one of her favorite movies. I think you did, where it was Born on the 4th of July. But we've forgotten about Top Gun, and there is a sequel. Who's with me in going to the sequel?
It's sequel, not sequel. Let me go see that sequel. You're gonna go see the sequel?
Who's going to see the sequel with me?
Nobody's going.
I
The
am.
movie theaters are closed.
Well, this is the trouble.
Yeah, they're closed. How are you going to go to the movies?
It was supposed to be out this summer. Now I think they bumped it to next summer. We'll all be mummies by then.
It's supposed to come out in, I think, a week.
But Tom Cruise will
2
not
weeks.
have aged a minute because of his deal with the devil. The man is 73 and he looks 23.
He made that deal at the Crossroads, right?
Right. The
but
Crossroads,
another one,
Hollywood
I mean-
Boulevard, and is it Franklin? Wherever the compound is, that's where he made that deal.
What are your guys' plans for
Yeah.
the 4th of July, Chris?
The 4th of July is Mrs. Buskirk's birthday. So there's not that many places to go, but we're going to go up to way far north Scottsdale. There's another town called Cave Creek. And there's a resort up there called the Boulders. So one esoteric will be there.
Let me ask you a quick question. Does she ever get resentful? Or, I would imagine when you're a kid and your birthday falls on certain days, you sort of get like the short, you sort of get the short stick.
No, she loves it because it's like always been a fun day. And until she was about 12, her mother had her convinced that the fireworks were for her.
Until she was 12. Thank you. Thank you, public schools.
I would get resentful, Judah, because my birthday always falls around Thanksgiving, and the whole family's together. They're doing everything, and you can see they forgot it was my birthday, and you can just see them all running out to buy a card and buy a present really quick and come back.
Right, but it didn't take you until you were 12 to realize there were no more pilgrims.
Well, what about 14 Santa? That's when she found out Santa no longer existed.
Oh, Chris's wife?
Hey,
Yeah.
this is a family program, Judah. There could be children watching.
That's true.
When does she find out she's married to Chris?
That's what's happening on her birthday. That's the present.
Oh, okay.
Great
I've never
question.
seen a sparkler that pale.
And what about you, Ben? What are your plans? Oh, you're gonna go. You're gonna.
He's gonna
No.
urinate in a mason jar, scream at the top of his lungs, and go back inside.
No, I'll be hanging out with the kids, and we'll see.
Kids.
But no, this will be the one Saturday where I miss prime rib Saturday this Saturday. But
Will
Yeah.
M80s be involved, Ben?
probably other people's from blocks away. There may be some. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think there'll be anything untoward or illegal. I think it's going to be pretty low key.
And Darcy wrote, "You're a bit far from me, Judah, or else I'd go with you. You're more than welcome to come with me and producer girlfriend. Maybe Kim will come to watch Top Gun, and it'll be fun." What about you, Lewis? What are you going to do for your daughter this year?
I'm gonna manumit our white slaves, and because it's an important day.
Oh,
And I told you we'll probably drive to the Palisades and watch the fireworks from in our car, and then go home, or not.
That's it. So it sounds like it's a very Chris. Are they going to give us some hope that your town still has a massive fireworks special?
I don't know. We're in a state of flux because our governor is in the process of attempting to cancel 4th of July, and some of the mayors are in open revolt. So it remains to be seen what happens.
This is when we need Bill Pullman's independence speech, like where we say we declare our independence and just say, get out of our houses and just launch fireworks, and
We can probably get Randy Quaid.
we could get. I think Randy Quaid could leave the movement.
Yes, I think he already has.
Oh, Darcy brings up a great point. Who here are dog owners? I know Kim is.
Yes.
July
Ours is deaf.
July
You're not.
That you're blessed, because July 5th. I know, Chris, you got to run.
Yeah, I do. I gotta go. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay,
Happy
so
4th. Happy
July
4th to your
5th.
Care.
I'll give you guys an interesting note. Is the busiest day at the vets and the animal shelter. Run away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My son's dog. He puts him in the kennel where he sleeps, and then tries to pile some blankets on top of it to muffle the sound.
I just want to dedicate this show before we close. I want to dedicate this show to Uncle Moish, who was never. I want to make this clear. He was never convicted in a court of law. He died an innocent man, and whatever the reason, I remember him fondly.
It's Kim. Caroline wants to know what kind of dog you have. He's the cutest dog.
I have an Aussie Shepherd, Caroline, little Aussie Shepherd. But that's a great idea. Then maybe because he gets scared too of all the fireworks, any loud noise.
Yeah, I hear that they have undershirts too that are supposed to.
They have hemp pills. We've bought those hemp pills at producer girlfriend at PetSmart. Those don't seem to work very well. This is where I hate to say it, if you have some sort of CBD oil with weed, with THC or
Benadryl.
Sorry?
Benadryl. When I'm traveling, I give them Benadryl.
We're stories of lacing our dogs with drugs so they don't complain.
Next week on the Esoterics.
And Ben, what about you? What type of dog do you have?
It's my son's. It's a pug. His name is Buttercakes. And yeah, his name was on the theory. My son's theory on naming the dog was that you couldn't possibly stay mad for long at a dog named Buttercakes. Turns out that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
How could you ever get mad at a pug?
You'd be surprised. until he became a good boy relatively recently, he was a bit of a bad boy.
Lewis, does your daughter have a dog?
Well, it's my wife's. The dog predates everyone. It's a beagle, Manny, and he is deaf. So, but I, in his honor, plan to urinate and defecate on the floor on the 4th.
Yes. In
we,
sheer terror, yes.
we don't doubt that at all. Attendees, do you have any more questions for Kim or any more statements before we let you go?
I think about you every day, Uncle Moish.
But Phil Darcy wrote, we have anxiety meds for the vet, knocks her on her butt. Ben,
Her name is Haley.
too, named Haley.
That's a
Kim,
good
how many
one.
tattoos do you have? That's from Caroline, not Phil, so it's a safe question.
I have 2, but I'm getting 2 more.
Wow.
Whoa.
I would
might
rethink.
I have the designs for the next 2. I'm just waiting for the appointment.
Yeah,
It's
may
the
I
flag
recommend?
in the back.
Yeah, reconsider the one of Judah. I would take a pause on that one.
Here, let me
Do
see.
the 2 you
That's
have in
fine.
mind.
Oh,
That's
wow.
one. And then there's one on the back of my neck here.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you can see it. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
you could tell us what it says.
It says Momak. It's Irish for my son. It's
And
Gaelic
what
for
does the
my-
one on your arm mean?
That's the word is Maitri, and it's unconditional kindness to yourself and everyone else.
Are you
Mm.
sure?
Have you
Is
ever
it-
had to cover them for a show or a part?
Yeah, how
have
does
you
that
ever had-
work? Yeah,
Yeah. And actually, the second meaning to this one on my arm is start where you are.
Hmm.
So there's 2 meanings.
Just
But yeah,
a,
they-
just a, yeah,
Depends
a
on the character.
recommendation.
Producer girlfriend asked the
Stay
question.
away from Belfast.
Stay away from Belfast. The next 2 I'm thinking of are going to be very cool.
Well, producer girlfriend says, does it affect your job or you just cover it up?
They just
Because-
cover it up. I mean, they
Because I'm
don't.
sure there are quite a few actors that have.
She's
quite
not
a-
Mike Tyson.
Yeah, my agent didn't love it, but they just cover it up. It just takes longer. If I play a rougher character, then I can show the tattoos. Like on the
Oh.
oath, I could show.
I
it.
got a role for you. You could play that single mom who beats Judah. You could beat him with your shoe or your purse. You keep the tattoo for that one. I'm gonna put you in a movie
Never
theater.
play my mother unless she had me when she was 10. But
So she could be
or-
she
or-
was
or
a teen
5.
mom. She was a teen mom, and she
Teen
gave
mom,
you
she
up.
was- She was an adolescent mom.
But adolescence goes to 21. Anyway, the point is, if you want to beat Judah, I'll pay to see that.
Man, you have some weird sort of projection. He's basically saying, Kim, he'd like you to beat him.
No,
Um,
Judah.
and,
I want to watch.
Lewis.
Oh, he's a voyeur.
Lewis,
Okay.
you're Lewis. I'm Judah. Lewis,
I'm
Judah.
aware of that.
And Caroline wrote, I agree with Kathleen. She really misses the well-scripted drama. Need Kim back stat. And I think that's actually a good question. I know we're going a little over. Do you, and producer girlfriend can ask this too. Lewis, you actually probably know a little bit about this, dude. Do you see scripted coming back anytime soon?
I just finished watching one. Great series, and I can't stand the woman. and I praised her.
upcoming. No, Lewis, meaning making more.
I'm sorry. I when I quit William Morris, I'm no longer privy to what's in the can. So I have no idea. All I can tell you is watch The Politician on Netflix.
Producer girlfriend's been watching that.
Yeah.
Kim, is there any have you guys ever heard any word on when?
There's no real headway. No. Canada might start up first, but because if they were to fly me up there for something, I'd have to quarantine for 2 weeks before I could
That's
start. So it's
crazy.
getting very costly.
Oh, God.
So
They might-
Netflix has started in Iceland already. That's been going for I think at least a month. But
What's been going on
Well,
in Iceland?
Netflix is filming episodic up in Iceland.
I kid you not. They just mint the most beautiful women in the world, but, and I'm not joking, they're not the women, just the people. They're not too keen on a certain tribe. And I learned that the hard way.
So that's actually really interesting. It's like, even if you get a job, you have to quarantine for 4 days and 14 days.
And if you're doing is whatever Sears, or your family will go with you. You can't go back and forth because they can't keep quarantining you. It costs too much money. So you're gone for those months. You don't get back
Kim,
home.
Ben, Judah, producer girlfriend. I have to eat lunch.
Okay, go. We'll see you later. We're going to be 2 more minutes here because Kaz said soap operas are all filming here in the UK, but I don't think any other scripted shows are. So there you have the UK news.
Yeah.
And when you speak to your actor friends, I'm just curious right now, like, are they having a difficult time? Because most people assume actors, if they've been in a show, they don't, have to work for, that's it. They've hit pay dirt. Most people don't realize most actors are just working actors and need paychecks.
Yeah. No, they're going, everybody's scared. What's going to happen. We don't know that answer yet.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, Ben, any closing final thoughts for you for the 4th of July? Give us some hope, Ben.
Well, I would encourage, one thing that I would encourage everyone to do is two things. Read 2 things leading up to this weekend. One, read John Adams' July 2nd letters to his wife Abigail. Because July 2nd was really the day where they pinned down the Declaration, what the Declaration was going to say.
Letters.
And read those letters where he talks about his hopes and his fears for what's about to happen.
Why don't you tell people where they could find it?
Well, I think just Google it. I don't think we've published them on American Greatness, but maybe we should.
I think you should.
Yeah, but John Adams' letters to Abigail on July 2nd, or July, I think it was July 3rd, describing what happened in July 2nd. And then read the Declaration of Independence. I think that one thing that we used to do that we don't really do anymore was we would do patriotic readings at the 4th of July, and we would read excerpts from the Declaration, and it's a good reminder.
Great idea.
You know who famously did that? And he would invite everybody in Washington. It didn't matter. Was the late great Charles Krauthammer. Was he would at his July 4th parties, everybody was invited, liberals, everybody. It didn't matter. And he would they would do a reading of the Declaration of Independence at his house. And you hear,
cool.
and you hear, and none of the people go, oh man, I had to go to his house. And everybody just speaks of it in the fondest of memories. And
it's a good reminder that there was a generation of Americans who were willing to pledge their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor for a cause greater than themselves. And that's what the day is about. And here's hoping we have more of them.
That's very special. That's very special. I'm going to do that.
Thank you.
As well.
You almost made me cry when you said that, Ben. That was actually pure beauty. And you know what made me happy about that, Ben? You also had hope when you said it. Because I do believe if people read that stuff and all that stuff, whatever's going on around us, that it's frightening everybody around the world. When you read the past, it offers you hope for the future. And I pray that we're still allowed to. Caroline, I know I didn't even know Neighbors was still on the air and Home and Away. I'm not sure what that is, but that's great that they're still filming. There will be memes coming from today's chat. Thank you, Caroline. I think all the memes. Send us your memes, by the way, so we could see them. And they all involve Lewis, I'm sure, at some point of the conversation. But I want to wish everybody the happiest of Fourths, and know that we're going to get out of this crazy situation and have 4th of July parties and have all that stuff, hopefully at very soon. And hopefully whenever we get through this, we'll have a real Independence Day again. It'll be another day of independence. Independence from being scared, and independence from all these different things. And I think of that Bill Pullman speech, which was an amazing speech in Independence Day. Today is the world we'll have an Independence Day, hopefully, when we're cured of all this stuff. So, that's, I want to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for listening and everybody for attending. And you could find us at the number 4 ESOTERICS on Twitter. Please download us on iTunes, watch us on YouTube. And before I forget, I have to give a shout out and tell everybody to watch Reunited Apart about Ferris Bueller. And Kim's friend's in it, does an amazing job in it. The actress that was in it. And Jennifer Grey. I didn't want to say her name in case you didn't want me to, but Jennifer Grey was amazing in it. And with Ben Stein, of course, and Matthew Broderick. And I beg of people, watch it on iTunes and or on YouTube. And on that note, I want to thank producer girlfriend, who's being nominated again for an 8-time Emmy Award for
Wow.
Yes.
Congrats.
But she's up against herself in the same category, which is never a good thing. So hopefully, she doesn't split it apart. And on that note, I bid adieu. I hope we took an hour off your mind, an hour and 15 minutes off your mind of not thinking about everything or offering you hope for everything that's going on. So thank you guys very much for listening. Have a great day.